That's all right. No. Oh, sorry. Oh. Hello and welcome back to Chris's Critical Classical Compendium, or my vlog as you'd probably know it. This is another video in our series analysing Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel, and I have it here. Yes, that's the one. Throughout the last 10 videos, we've looked at literary techniques, characters, setting, and countless other elements of the riveting text. But all of this has been done by the same single biased perspective. In my case, a middle-class Australian Caucasian, an 18-year-old male. And probably now you hold these views because you've been listening to me. Anyway, how can we look at the text differently? How can we uncover new features that we missed in our last analysis? Of course, it's critical perspectives. Mum's been telling me that for years. So let's do that. Our first critical perspective will be feminism. Stay tuned. Like Water for Chocolate can be viewed from a feminist perspective. By looking through this lens, the audience is able to understand that Esquivel uses both stereotypical female characters, but she also depicts characters that do not fit their gender stereotypes, advocating the feminist cause. Through looking at the text through this feminist lens, it allows for analysis of many characters. However, the characterization of Gertrudis is particularly apparent. Throughout the text, she is portrayed as being significantly different to the other two sisters. This is verified when it is uncovered that she is the illegitimate daughter of Mama Elena and the African, Jose Gervinho. This highlights that the consequences of drifting outside the range of acceptable behaviours do not only impact the female directly involved, but their actions are felt for generations to come. As the product of lust, her status is kept secret by Mama Elena, highlighting that women are only accepted if pure, legitimate and traditional. Despite her mother's secrecy, the audience can appreciate her sense of rhythm and other qualities, and the values of the feminist hero. Magic realism in the third chapter illustrates the sexual and independent awakening of Gertrudis when a strange alchemical process devolved her entire being, causing her to run away. This is viewed as a symbol of female volatility and emotional instability. Oh. Hello, yes. Nah, Mum. How you going? Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll be home by 7. Yes, I'll bring my washing. Okay. Ta-ta. See you soon. Bye. Now what's what? The idea that she flees purely as a result of the meal appears to be simplistic and disparaging towards the qualities that women possess. Countering this opinion through dialogue is the idea that the shower that bursts into flames symbolises more and a more complex and intelligent human process. Heat, which is a common byproduct of chemical change, could be the byproduct of Gertrudis' emotional transformation and the beginning of her life as an independent, sexual and authoritative woman. Gertrudis' return to the farm as a Revolutionary Army general truly characterises her as a feminist hero. She doesn't conform to the traditional female stereotype and is also vastly different to the other females in the text. As a leader in the military, which is stereotypically a male-dominated environment, she is characterised as hardworking, independent, and most of all, equal to males. These are all qualities that the feminism movement aimed to achieve, and her participation in the plot is highly supportive of women's rights and abilities. Her stories of the first firing squad she ordered juxtaposed Gertrudis with Tita, allowing the audience to understand their comparative lives. The independent Gertrudis dances, fights, has sex and drinks alcohol, while being happy and content. Comparatively, her oppressed and burdened sister Tita remains horribly dreary, confused and vulnerable. These two female characters possess two distinctly different lives. One is typical of a woman, and the other more typical of a man. The presence of both champion the need for women to be active in the community, whilst being independent and rebellious. The lack of strong males in Like Water for Chocolate takes a new meaning when the text is analysed from a feminist perspective. Pedro is characterised through his dialogue and behaviour as weak, foolish, feminine. He tells his father he's going to marry with a great love for Tita that will never die, illustrating his oppression and powerlessness. This juxtaposes greatly to the powerful and masculine characters of Mama Elena and Gertrudis. Pedro lacks power and influence within the household. He's manipulated by Mama Elena to suit her needs and views, symbolising male subservience within the text. Pedro is simplified in the text as a feminine male character who, despite loving Tita, lacks the strength to pursue her. When Pedro realises there is no way he can marry Tita, instead he decides to marry her sister. Well, Esquivel characterises him as simplistic, cowardly and timid. Pedro is not treated as equal to others in the text. He is dependent on both Mama Elena and Tita. So we now understand that the text can be perceived from a feminist perspective. And this changes the meaning of certain elements, altering the perspective of the audience, their feelings of empathy and understanding. But we still do not understand the characters and their motivation. To do this, we need to look at the text from another critical perspective, the psychological critical perspective. Keep watching for the next edition of Caruso's Classical Critical Compendium. Looking at the text through an alternative lens, the psychological perspective allows for an understanding of Like Water for Chocolate and the internal motivations for the actions of the characters. Mama Elena is characterised as merciless, powerful, traits usually expected of a man. The psychological lens allows for an understanding of why she is motivated to behave in such an aggressive and oppressive manner. She is characterised through her dialogue and behaviour, both of which are extremely masculine. Mama Elena is determined to show that she's never needed a man for anything, and that she's done alright with her ranch and her daughters. Despite not conforming to the traditional stereotype of a woman, she is still concerned with her perception and with tradition. Mama Elena argues that for generations not a single person in my family has ever questioned this tradition, and that no daughter of mine is going to be the one to start. This illustrates that her behaviour is an attempt to maintain her social status and the status of her family, and an effort to prove to society that as a female she is able to raise a family. Despite not having a patriarch, she aims to maintain the social complexion of her family by playing the proxy head. Thus, her behaviour mimics that of a traditional rural farmer, a husband and father, with aggressive tendencies. As with all humans, Mama Elena's behaviour is also impacted by her past experiences, which juxtapose Tita's oppression. This adds another layer to Mama Elena's behaviour and motivation. Much like Tita's love is taken away from her by the traditions of Mexico, Mama Elena's love of her life is disallowed by the expectations of society. Renowned psychologist Sigmund Freud also suggests that people's memories have a substantial subconscious impact on their behaviour. Mama Elena's parents discovered the love and forced her into an immediate marriage with Johann. From her experiences, she understands that it is the role of the parent, not the daughter, to decide the fate of the child's marriage. She doesn't remember the pain that her memories caused her, because it's been repressed into the subconscious, an inaccessible memory due to the trauma it caused. Instead, her self-defense mechanisms of aggression show. The audience feels greater empathy for Mama Elena and her values after interpreting this through the psychological critical perspective. Despite Esquivel's portrayal of Mama Elena as ruthless and cruel, the characters react depressingly to her death. Even Tita, during the funeral, really wept for her mother. This discrepancy between the author's portrayal of Mama Elena and their characters' reactions show that the family members understand the societal challenges Mama Elena faced and the good intentions of their mother. Despite her inability to communicate and interact with empathy, it also shows Tita holds very different subconscious defense mechanisms, those of empathy and kindness. Despite her characterization as uncaring, the use of the psychological critical perspective provides nuances concerning Mama Elena's character. The audience understands that she has a thoughtful and empathetic and motherly motivations for her actions, which is previously hidden behind her subconscious responses and repressed memories. Without the use of the psychological lens, it would be impossible to interpret this from the text. Freud also suggests that when people are placed in stressful situations, such as revolutionary Mexico, people's subconscious tendencies push through the behavior as a self-defense mechanism. In Mama Elena's situation, her behaviors are illustrated. She has an underlying aggressive psyche. And even when she's being caring, she can be over-aggressive. It's clear the psychological perspective in particular allows for analysis of how and why the characters act the way they do. In particular, the audience is able to better understand and empathize with Mama Elena, who was previously illustrated by psychologist Sigmund Freud as a product of her past experiences. Yes. Now we have an understanding of Like Water for Chocolate from our own perspective, a feminist perspective, and a psychological perspective. We have peeled back those layers, uncovering new meaning and motivation behind the characters and their actions. This critical method can be applied to all literature to similarly gain a greater understanding of the text. As always, next week will be bigger than ever. We're going to discuss Harper Lee and look at what she saw in her classic To Kill a Mockingbird. No doubt her thoughts will be compelling as always. See you then.